What's going on, everybody? So this video is going to be a little bit different than the type of videos that I normally post on my YouTube channel. Normally I'm doing a lot of backpacking stuff, which I will still continue to be doing that, and I do have a couple of trips planned for this year coming up in the next couple of weeks, and for those people who are still looking for that type of stuff. So I go bow fishing a lot, and recently I put up a video of me bow fishing and it kind of blew up. So within, I believe it was a week, it had like 140,000 views on it. A bunch of people saw the video and they were commenting on there saying that they wanted to learn how to bow fish. So I figured I'd throw together a little video going over everything you need to know about a bow to actually taking you guys out there and getting you ready to shoot your first fish. So this video is going to be going over the fundamentals of bow fishing, explaining how to get started for somebody who doesn't know anything about bow fishing. Before we get into it, a couple things that you'll need to know about bow fishing. There are certain species of fish that you cannot shoot with a bow, such as any type of game fish, whether that be bass or crappie mainly. You can shoot catfish with a bow. You can shoot invasive species like Asian carp, which is what I shoot a lot. You can shoot gar with a bow. Just know what type of gar you're shooting. I know that in the state that I live in, alligator gar, you're not allowed to shoot, and you can get in trouble for that. I know if you go to Louisiana, they're out there everywhere and you won't get in trouble for it. So just make sure you know and research in your state what species of fish that you are able to shoot. The second thing you might be wondering is, where can you bow fish? Normally I go to a dam that's near me, but you also can go to lakes. You can bow fish from the bank, you can bow fish from a boat. I know not everybody has all the money to spend on a $50,000 bow fishing boat, myself included. I just have a little V-bottom boat that I haven't totally converted yet, so a lot of my fishing is done from the bank right now. Dams will be a really good place to bow fish. Certain areas that, depending on where you live at, you might have certain swampy areas with a lot of reeds and cattails growing up on either side. Those are really good spots to bow fish, and so I go with some buddies around the area that I live in, and we fish old strip pits and stuff like that, and kind of around the little swampy areas. All right, so let's get into it. So the bow that I have an AMS FishHawk. This is the bow that I have right now, and I'll walk you through all the differences between a bow fishing bow and a regular bow. Another thing I want to mention though is, when you get into bow fishing, it can be really expensive if you want to buy a bow that's meant for bow fishing, but you can get around that by just buying a regular bow. You can get one up for like $50–$60 off of Facebook Marketplace, which I have done. You can put one of these reels right here on it, which I'll go over, and then you get a bow fishing arrow and you can start shooting fish. So you don't have to have, like this one right here is a $400 bow. You don't have to have a $400 bow. Bows get all the way up to $900 and up. So you don't have to spend all that money on a bow just to get into bow fishing. Like I said, you can buy something off of Facebook Marketplace or eBay or something, just like an old hunting bow, and you can use that. The only thing is, make sure that the power is not turned up. You don't want to be shooting fish with a 60-pound bow, so make sure that your poundage on your bow is turned down. My bow, I believe, is about like 32 or 34 pounds right now. You can shoot 27 pounds, be fine. Just make sure you're not above that 40, especially like 45-pound mark, because that's going to be way too much poundage to be shooting fish with. All right, so I'm going to explain to you guys the differences between a regular bow and a bow fishing bow. So this right here is my bow fishing bow. This is my reel right here. It's an AMS reel. So basically what it does is, it's got this line right here, and this line goes into this bottle. You've got this lever here at the bottom. You're going to squeeze that, and then you're going to start reeling in. And so then that is what you do whenever you have a fish on. You'll shoot, and then it'll let your line out, and then you have a fish on and you start reeling it in. With these reels, sometimes if you have a big fish on, you're not going to be able to reel it in with this kind of reel. You're going to have to put your bow down and grab the actual line and pull it, which is what I normally do. There are more expensive reels where you can actually reel the fish in, but I just haven't spent the money on doing that at the moment. So there are spots to attach this reel on this bow. If you notice right here, this is where the reel is attached to. These screws that go in there. With a regular bow, I've seen even some bows where they actually screwed a reel into it, which can work, if that's something that you decided to do. All right, so next we're gonna talk about arrows. So with arrows, you're not gonna be able to use just a regular arrow that you get from Walmart to shoot a fish, because the reason being is, whenever you shoot a fish with a bow fishing arrow, it's got these prongs on it. And what these prongs do is, when you shoot through a fish, it'll go through it, and these prongs will keep the fish from coming off of it. So it'll hook onto it like that. Because if you shoot a fish with just a regular arrow, you'll shoot through it and when you pull it, it'll pull right back out, and you're gonna lose your fish. Also with this arrow, there's no fletching feathers on here. So you don't need feathers on this arrow because it's not flying a far distance through the air. To shoot something, you're shooting straight into the water, and honestly, you might only be probably 10 feet away when you're shooting a fish. So you don't have to be an expert marksman. You don't have to go to archery classes in order to bow fish. You're literally standing, you know, probably 5, 6, maybe 10 feet away from the fish whenever you shoot them, and you're not gonna be that far away from it. These poles are made out of fiberglass, so, you know, they are pretty sturdy for when you do shoot fish. The way that you operate the arrow is, some of them work differently, but the way this AMS arrow works is when you shoot through a fish and it's stuck like that, what you're gonna do is you're gonna twist the head of the arrow, and then once you twist the head, this barb will flip upwards. So when you shoot through a fish, you twist that head, and then it'll slide right out of the fish, just like that. The next thing we're gonna go over on your bow is the arrow rest. So this arrow rest is gonna be different from regular bows. So this is gonna be your arrow rest right here, which is this part. So this is what your arrow is gonna sit in. There's different kinds for bow fishing, but this is what your arrow is gonna sit in. So as you can see, it sits in there, and it'll click in or it'll click out. This keeps your arrow from flying all over the place. Whenever you bow fish, after you've been bow fishing for a while, you'll, you know, be standing in one spot and you'll jerk that bow over to another spot because you see a fish. And so you're gonna want an arrow rest that's gonna keep your arrow from coming out. This is the only one I've ever used. I'm sure there's other ones, but this one works really great for me. This arrow's never come out of here, and it clicks, you have to click it in and click it out. So that's something you're gonna need, is an arrow rest that's made for bow fishing. So that's my complete setup. This is my reel, of course, the arrow, and then the flashlight, which is activated by this pressure pad right here, so it'll turn on and off, just like that. It does have a spot where it can screw into, which is at the tip right here. Under these cords, it'll screw into there. That's normally where the stabilizer goes, so it'll screw into where your stabilizer will go. This flashlight was, I believe, around like $79. You don't have to buy a flashlight that's made specifically for bow fishing. This is honestly, I just bought this probably a week ago. I've been bow fishing for going on 2 or 3 years now, and normally I'll have a stabilizer out front, which it doesn't exactly look like this flashlight, but it's a little kind of like pole going out front, and I would just tape a flashlight onto it and turn that flashlight on or off whenever I bow fish at night. So you don't have to have the best of everything to get started, because I've just now started upgrading a couple things on my bows, but starting off with the bare minimum, you can still shoot fish. So the next video is going to be going over how to actually shoot fish with a bow fishing bow. I'm going to go over the fundamentals of how to shoot a bow, and then we're going to explain how you shoot fish when you go bow fishing. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys that are actually looking to start getting into bow fishing, and keep an eye out for the next videos in this series.